Michael McDowell. I've chosen a poem of William Stafford. I chose partly because one of the last times that I saw him was when I was hosting a reading for Tim Hunt, and William Stafford came, and as he often did, he had a camera, a single-lens reflex camera, and he took pictures during the reading, and afterwards he took a picture of me with Tim Hunt, picture of Tim Hunt. And I thought a lot about that and the idea that poetry demands a certain way of seeing. Cameras help us capture what we've seen. Often when we look at a photograph we've taken, we see things that we didn't realize at the time were actually there. So I've chosen a poem of his that he wrote in the last year of his life. It's dated 17 May. The title of it is Emily, This Place, and You. He's presenting a few items as though he had taken a photograph, though he doesn't name them exactly precisely, but I've kind of assumed that the mountains might be the Cascades, the river might be the Columbia or the Willamette. Emily, this place, and you. She got out of the car here one day, and it was snowing a little. She could see little glimpses of those mountains, and away down there by the river, the curtain of snow would shift, and those deep, secret places looked all the more mysterious. It was quiet, you know. Her life seemed quiet, too. There had been troubles, sure, everyone has some. But now, looking out there, she felt easy, at home in the world, maybe like a casual snowflake. And some people loved her. She would remember that, and remember this place. As you will, wherever you go after this day, just a stop by the road and a glimpse of someone's life, and your own, too, how you can look out any time, just being part of things, getting used to being a person, taking it easy, you know? The first poem that I'll read is a poem that actually I took a photograph of my daughter while we were canoeing once, and looked at the photograph later and was thinking of writing a poem, and I decided that I could put everything in the photograph into the poem, and so I studied carefully the Devil's Club, the kind of trees there were, etc., and they all ended up here, I believe, in a lot of details. It's called, my daughter was 10 years old at the time. Julia at Lost Lake, Mount Hood National Forest. She cups blueberries in her hand as if they were a broken-winged bird, which she eats morsel by morsel. Long coils of her light brown hair twist and curl down her shoulder across the orange life vest tied loosely in front. 10 years old, she's comfortable and confident, standing above the old town canoe, beached by the blueberries in the volcanic gravel of the far shore. At her bare feet in the water, blue dragonflies, rough-skinned newts, kokanee, probe and vanish. Alder and Devil's Club crowd the shore at her shoulder. In the distance, ghost trees here and there whiten the dense green hemlock August. From her own palm, she plucks and tastes the world, and then shakes remnant leaves and stems like confetti, and climbs in to fly across white caps and swells to the waiting dock. The next poem, the other poem that I'll read, is a portrait of a neighbor from when I was 7 or 8 years old. He lived on the street where I grew up, and as with William Stafford's poem that I read, it's more than a portrait, I hope, and it ends with a question, the way a lot of Stafford's poems do, and kind of an implied suggestion that there's a lot of reality that's unknowable, and we just live with that. It's called Palmer. Just after 5 o'clock, on what is now the TriMet 51, but then was the Rose City Traction Company Council Crest, rain-coated men packed the bus. The ones I knew were all lawyers. They loomed large, rectangular blocks of sandstone and basalt. They sat in all the back seats, even across the back bench where I usually sat. They held square briefcases on their knees, as if whenever they got on, the bus developed fold-down trays of leather-topped desks. The gruff remote talk intended to exclude. The biggest, gruffest, most towering was always Bill Palmer, with wavy white hair and white eyebrows which like cumulus clouds billowed across his forehead. He seemed never to smile, but I would stand in front of his house and watch as he tied the big yellow whitewater raft to the family station wagon and packed paddles and bundles of who knows what. A hush would settle on our street of towering cedars and firs as the old, oversized rubber raft, a muted splash of color, patched and smudged, sat on the car. Where did he head with his family and raft? We never knew for sure, but as I watched, I could smell sage and madrona and alpine soil and see Jeffrey pines bending in a mountain breeze.